G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the east side of the map in the colour pink, playing as the Abbasid dynasty, we've got Don Arty. And over on the west side of the map, in the colour yellow, playing as the Delhi Sultanate, we've got Averley. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dry Arabia, watching two of the world's best players go up against one another. We've got quite the matchup for you today. An interesting matchup, a matchup that has tossed and turned between who favours who. And at the moment, it definitely feels like it is starting to favour the Abbasid a little bit more. I think it depends who you ask. Honestly, whoever you ask is going to have a different opinion about this matchup. I remember back in the good old days where it felt like the Delhi were just impossible to beat in this matchup. And then it switched. It switched, and the Abbasid just became this civilization that was just always able to beat the Delhi. But now, I feel like it's in a pretty decent spot. Abbasid have got a lot of tools that they can use. Obviously, we've seen the rise of the military wing. We've seen the rise of trade. The Abbasid have got a lot of different tools that they can look to exploit. And the question is how Don Arty looks to go about exploiting his tools. Because when it comes to Averley, we know what he's up to, right? He's playing the Delhi Sultanate. It's a one-trick pony. He's going to look to try and take sacred sites. He's going to look to try and capture relics. And he's going to look to try and finish the game, ideally, at an early point, but if he can't, he can always flex. I think the word's flex, or he can move himself into a village fortress endgame. That's always a possibility. I'm curious what landmark option he goes with, though. I think for both of these players, because it definitely, obviously, you've got your primary landmarks for both of these sips. Tower of Victory for the Delhi Sultanate, and occasionally you see the Dome of the Faith. Not a huge amount, though. And on the other side, it's normally the economic wing for the Abbasid dynasty, but not always the case. Don Arty in particular has been a fan of the military wing. We'll take a look over at Don Arty and see how he's going, though, because the age up's going to come through shortly. But hold on a minute, where's Averley's resources? I thought he had a whole bunch. Did he just queue up a whole bunch of villages? Okay, I was going to say, excuse me, Averley, you got a few too many. 2, 4, 6. All right, so this is something that when I'm coaching, I will bring up quite a bit. So which, by the way, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Patreon. Of course, we do plenty of coaching, Delhi coaching, all civilizations, all levels, all that good stuff. But one of the things I always say is, don't be afraid to queue up plenty of villagers in here, because you can always just cancel them. It makes it a little bit easier for you, so that way you don't ever risk going idle. But we do see the age ups now starting to come through. Averley is going to drop down. It's going to be the Tower of Victory, so no real surprise there. I'd say that it's about a 95% landmark rate at the moment. But on the other side of the map, we do have the military wing coming out now for Don. So what Don's going to be looking to do is establish map control with the military wing. Because when you think about it, right, compare it to, say, the economic wing, right? What are you getting from the economic wing? You're getting a reduced barrier to entry on additional town centers. That's something that scales into the late game. That's something that you're able to create more villages with. But what does the military wing give you? Well, it gives you an immediate boost. 2 spearmen, 2 archers. It's buffed up. It's back. It's better than ever. The military wing, it's actually pretty strong. And the question is how Don looks to approach this, because realistically, there's going to be a number of ways he can look to hit his enemy. Berries at the front. This is going to be a great opportunity for him. He's going to be able to use them to deny any scholars out of the map. And obviously, the Delhi Sultanate, they do like to build up a bit of an early attack force. But just remember that that's going to buy Don time by having the military wing out. Get those units out on the map. And look at this. A barracks going to be coming down for Don. Gosh, this is not something I expected. A barracks coming out for Don Arty. Normally, we do see him going to the stable quite early on. But I guess his suspicion is that the Delhi might be moving into something oriented around cavalry. So he's just going to move into a preemptive barracks, and we see the age up coming through. 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Beautiful timing on that, and Don immediately moving out now. Spearmen together with the archers. Rallied immediately towards those berry bushes, and we start to see the stable. There it is. And look at this, another spearman in queue. This Abbasid rush is actually crazy when you think about it. 5 units out already. It's starting to really ramp up. We're right on board now with Averley as he looks to defend this. Now, remember, from Averley's perspective, he's going to have to deal with all 3 units early on. He opens with an archery range, that's fine. He's going to be able to, sit nicely in this pocket and defend. He's not going to have to really worry that much about horsemen diving the town center, because obviously the horsemen don't want to cop too much flack from that TC. These villagers, they'll just eat the berries as much as they can. And you can see that there's about to be some units coming through here right now. And immediately pulls back the villagers, falls back onto the sheep. And he's got plenty of sheep back here, so he's not too worried. And then realistically, I think that Averley can probably just throw down a wall. I'd like to see just a very small wall across here. Another small wall. You could probably even just do one the whole way across. And then that way your wood sources aren't really that hit, or that badly hit. And this tree is probably going to block line of sight. We'll see what Don looks to do, whether he goes around the base, scopes it out, or whether he's just going to be sitting comfortably. But double range coming through from Averley at this point in time. I'm curious what he's spotted out from Don, whether he knows about... So he knows the position. I don't know whether he knows that it's a stable coming out from Don, or whether it's a barracks coming out from him, but... Averley's numbers starting to build up, and we can see the vills actually moving back out to the berries. A little bit of a wild call to be moving the vills back out this early, especially with so many sheep. He's got up to 12 sheep now. It's not even including the carcasses, which, by the way, it looks like he's got about 3 of them there, so he's done really well on sheep. But the number's going to start rising here. Now, keep in mind, Averley's goal early on is to start taking these sacred sites. But he's going to have a bit of trouble doing that, just simply because Don has got such good map control. He can't really push out, feels like he can't really do too much here. He can't go into cav because there's so many spears. He can try and make spears against the enemy horsemen, but there's already archers out on the field. So we do see him throwing down the barracks right now. Scholar's going to jump inside. Now there's one scholar out. We can see the single scholar out for the moment. Does he have a second scholar in queue? Doesn't look like it. So just the single scholar just going to be popping in, popping out, doing all that scholar stuff. And Don going to start posturing on that south side of the base. We're right on board with him as he looks to begin a second town center. Plenty of production over here for him. He's already on that 1-1-1. He's going to start out his own archer production. We can see he's up to 4 archers. And speaking of archers, the archer numbers are looking good here for Averley, but he's got to be careful he doesn't run too far from home. You can see that by forcing this early aggression out, Averley's only dropping the blacksmith now. This is a late blacksmith. This is a 7-minute blacksmith. Normally, you'd expect this blacksmith to get dropped down quite early on. Somewhere around the 5-minute region is what is very common for a lot of these Delhi players. You'll see them go single blacksmith, single mosque. And that's going to delay a lot of the upgrades. Keep in mind, these upgrades take quite some time before they come in. Another 3 minutes before it comes in. So the sooner you can get the ball rolling, the better it is for you. And Don's going to look to exploit that. Remember, behind this, the second town center is going to be coming through shortly. But look at this. Look at the surround that Don is doing right now. This military wing play is starting to make me a little bit worried about how good the Abbasid dynasty might actually be. Don Artie could be onto something. Checking in now over towards the north side. He's began expanding out. He's taken all of his berries out. He's still got the sheep underneath the town center. Both of these civilizations obviously prefer the berries over the sheep. Sheep are always great to fall back on. Nice little surround still coming in. Don with all the spears on the top side, just preventing any sacred sites, and archers now are going to start pushing out. One of them does get caught out of position. You can see that final sacred site hasn't actually been discovered by Don. Don notorious for not scouting the map. He doesn't care. He just focuses down the center, and look at these archer numbers starting to move up for Averley. At the same time, the horsemen managed to get pincered, skewered by the single spear that was there, and now able to chase him back towards the town center, and you can see that immediately the vills pop in the TC and just take out that horseman. He doesn't want a bar of it. He doesn't want a bite of it. So Don can't really penetrate into this, but at the same time, Averley can't really push out, and that's the key difference, right? Because at this point in the game, he's already picked up Sanctity. He's starting to take that sacred site in the north. Look at this, and immediately I expect to see spears from Don Artie move in that direction. That's exactly going to be the case here. He will see the wall coming up as well, so he knows that he's in a bit of a pickle in that regard. So really smart move by Averley to sneak this. I don't know how he managed to get it through, but Don still going to be pushing on this front. We'll head up towards the north. This is where the real battle is. If Don's able to get to this sacred site in time, it's definitely going to be hurting Averley. But if Averley, it's so close, so close. And it's the consequence of, like, had he built these ones at the beginning rather than these ones to the end, it would have made it a completely different world. And now Don really going to start moving up towards this position. Averley needs to get out a second scholar and move down towards this position. I'd love to see him do that right now, especially when his enemy is so distracted. Scholar trying its best to stay alive right now, singing the Bee Gees. Looks like it will go down here. That is the only scholar that Averley's got out, and with that scholar going down, the prospect of a sacred site is now 0. And that is very, very painful. Now going to look to wall in He's trying to wall in the spearman. Unfortunately, the spearman does manage to get out. But he can keep those walls for later. Now a little bit of a push coming out from Averley. Averley's mad. He's mad that the scholar's gone down. He's put 5 villagers out onto gold because that sacred site was what was going to trigger all of the subsequent scholars. He was going to use the gold from this sacred site to get gold for his next scholars. But now that obviously hasn't come to fruition. He now has to fall back and start gathering gold the old-fashioned way. And damn, man, I hate doing it the old-fashioned way. Using my pickaxe. I don't want to do it. I just want to pray and get my gold the good old-fashioned way. Well, actually, this is the good old-fashioned way. This is the new age way. All right, well, at this point, Don going to be forcing him off gold, and this is actually where it gets quite tough for Averley, because if he doesn't have gold, he doesn't have scholars, and if he doesn't have scholars, he doesn't have sacred sites, and if he doesn't have sacred sites, he doesn't have a win condition. This is an integral part of playing the Delhi Sultanate, is getting those sacred sites. There are rare strategies you can play where you don't go for sacred sites. I remember watching Salami play against the Holy Roman Empire, and just went fast castle with 5 scholars and stole all the relics at like 7 minutes 30. That was a pretty funny game. But you don't have to go for sacred sites, but obviously it definitely helps. Those things are beasts when it comes to the amount of gold they provide. Now Don, not going to realize that there is an incoming attack until his villager gets taken out. 1 villager taken out apiece here. Scout comes out for Don as well. Needs a bit more vision here. Second town center obviously down, and he's begun scaling. He's 7 villagers ahead at this point. In Averley, no sacred site at all. But I do suspect the scholar is on the way. He's got to be on the way somewhere. There he is. Scholar heading towards that top side. Don doesn't look to go for a pick. He definitely could have gone for a pick, but he's got the archers kind of sitting by ready. And you can see it's interesting how both players are positioned where each other's reinforcements are coming from. Makes it very dangerous for both players. Because once you get a collapse coming through, those reinforcements are going to connect with the army. And now Don, got to be careful here. A lot of spears starting to move forward. Those archers getting some real damage through. Able to take out the horsemen. The numbers have definitely started to dwindle for Don. But he's going to use these archers. At the same time in the north, we hear the sacred site being taken. Horsemen and the scout going to be moving up towards that northern position. And the sacred site is slowly being taken. But remember, there are archers nearby. These guys on standby, waiting to pick off any scholars who dare enter to this sacred site. And you can see that Averley able to move that scholar to the backside. But now more raids coming through. No villagers down just yet. There's going to be the second one in the game that goes down by Don. Loses a huge amount of his... Not worth it, okay? You know how like when somebody does something stupid in a video game and they just type in all chat like worth? Like that was so worth it. It's like, bro, not worth. That was not worth it. That's a lot of dead horsemen, Don. Not worth. Okay, so Averley's managed to capture a sacred site. This is great for Averley. It's exactly what he wants, especially as his forces continue building here. The gold that he's going to be getting in from the sacred site, we can see it's up to 50 gold a minute. That'll be rising up to 150 gold a minute because a sacred site nets you that, and he'll be using that to then get his second sacred site and then eventually his third sacred site. But there is trouble in paradise. Archer numbers are really starting to rise. He's got +1 ranged armor together with the ranged attack. Has he moved into a second blacksmith? It looks like he has. Indeed, a second blacksmith has been added. And the battering rams are going to start making their way. I suspect he'll be going for the second town center. Does he know about the second town center? Surely he knows about the second town center. Indeed he does. Battering ram heading over towards that position. And Archer's going to be coming out. So Don going to be in a bit of a tough spot here. I don't think he's going to hold this. Not against 45 archers of Averley. That's a lot of archers. Don still throwing away villagers. That's the second one. And now those battering rams making their way towards the top side. Let's see how solid the defense is. I don't think there's any world where Don Artie holds this. More villagers going to get picked off, but we've got cavalry coming in from the rear. Don Artie trying his best to hold on. Spears on the front side. Archer numbers really quite high for his enemy. And Averley doing a decent job here. Villagers not jumping out of the town center. Need to be sieging down these battering rams. Also need to repairing down the town center. Repairing up the town center. But hold on a minute. Don manages to find a way. The spears are nowhere to be seen. +1 ranged armor. I'm not sure whether it's come in. Vills do get pulled, so there is a chance that he holds this. But one more attack, and I think that that town center will be going down. And Archers managed to finally deal with the last of... Oh, it looks close. He tries to come in for the repair. Look at the town center. It's so low. And now holding the town center with like 5 villagers. The other 5 going to start sieging it down. Don Artie somehow manages to keep the town center alive on the brink of death. That was incredibly close. It was a pixel point of health right there. And Don somehow manages to hold. He was down 20 archers, and he somehow manages to pull out. Incredible play there by Don. But behind this, the sacred site in the center is now starting to get captured, and Averley finds himself in a position where he could be looking for a castle age here. This sacred site's going to be able to hold plenty of time. We're right on board with Don. That was a very solid defense coming out of Don. The second town center stays alive. He also didn't lose any vills. He's only lost 2 workers this game, so that is incredibly good for him. Don's position just increased very well, but I think the question is how much Averley's going to be able to leverage these sacred sites and whether he's going to be able to hit castle. It definitely looks like he's trending there at the moment, but he is still making plenty of units, so that's one thing to note. But with this sacred site in the center, it's really key that Averley looks to hold this. He wants to keep this sacred site. Oh, battering ram. Got to be careful with those battering rams. Can't go too greedy. I think at the moment, the big thing is that Averley's just going to be really careful with his spear control. Ideally, you don't want these spears fighting until the horsemen are already on the archers. And you've got to play it somewhat like the English, where your archers are killing enemy archers and your spears are just trying to kill the horsemen. Because it's so difficult going up against the ranged armor. Sacred site now going to be contested. He needs to get it back out there. Sacred victory is approaching. He's taken all 3 sacred sites. Averley definitely quite happy with that. Doesn't really mind losing that central sacred site. Remember that with the sacred victory approaching, that's rather... it's not even a... Get off my screen! I don't need to know about the sacred site. This is so frustrating. Get off my screen, dude. Oh, Lord, that thing just... It comes up... It gives you like 7 messages. It's like, your enemy's taking a sacred site. You need to take the sacred sites off your enemy. Sacred sites are a mechanic that allows... It's like, get off! I don't need to know right now. Please, stop. Lord Jesus. Lord Jesus, Mary Joseph. I don't know where that's from. But anyway. Yeah, so I think at this point, Averley has to be very careful with his control of his spears because Don is doing a great job at picking them off. But I guess by the same token, Don is doing a really good job of pulling those spears forward with his cavalry, allowing his cavalry to survive, not ever clash with those spears, and then subsequently pick up the spears. So it can be really tough knowing when to pull the spears in and when not to pull the spears in. But Averley continues fighting on. And as we enter into the 17th minute of this game, I will let you guys know, both of these guys do have channels that they create, both Averley and Donardi. Donardi on YouTube, Averley over on Twitch. So go check them out. In fact, I'm pretty sure Averley's over on Twitch. I'd have to double check. I'm 90% sure he is. I've got a little thing I can open up. But anyway, age up's coming through for Averley. I'll leave links in the description. Go check them out because obviously they're pretty damn good. Both of these guys, Kong 3+++. Vill's going to get caught out of position. Sacred Site neutralized in the north as well. So that's going to be 2 Sacred Sites going down. The cost of the age up is quite large as those Sacred Sites indeed. And we got Economic Wing coming through for Don Artie. Excuse me, Don Artie, do you know what age this is? Don not going for Culture Wing, not going for Trade Wing, going for Economic Wing, despite having 76, 78 villages. And now Averley looking to push out his enemy. Age up comes through. Expect to see a couple of techs in queue immediately. Where is it? There it is. Village Fortresses recently nerfed. Went from 5 minutes to 6 minutes. And look at the archers from Averley just getting in on top of the enemy. That extra attack speed going to come in handy right here as the spears make their way. Speedy boys making their way through the pack there, trying to get to the front. Doing a great job of just picking off enemy archers. And now the spear's going to be able to connect. And Averley cleaning up Don. A minute to go before Don ages up, but he's going to have to wait, Averley, as his own techs are coming through. And it's going to take some time, but look at this comp coming out from Don, just sticking with Archer, Horseman for the moment. Sacred Site's starting to get picked up as well. We do see 2 scholars already out now for Averley. He's looking to get a 3rd one. Men-at-Arms joining the field. 3 Men-at-Arms coming out. This is where it starts to get tough for Don. He doesn't have to move into Camel Archers just simply because moving into Camel Archers, you're so close to aging up, you can just go into Crossbowmen, you're going to be fine. There's a little bit of a window where these Men-at-Arms can hurt you, and We actually see Don doing a great diversion tactic here. These men-at-arms should be right now in Don's base. They should be on his wood line. They should be on his gold. They should be forcing him out, idling him. But instead, you've got so many men-at-arms that are just chasing all of these little archers. And these archers aren't going to do much, right? Like, they're gonna scratch a couple of mining camps. They're not going to do much. Men-at-arms need to be over here in the base, causing havoc. So great diversion tactic there by Don. Age Up about to come through for the Don. It's the economic wing. Not something that you often see, military wing into the economic wing. Let's see what Don does with it, though. He's got a couple of options open to him. So he's unlocked Fertile Crescent. He's unlocked Agriculture. And realistically, that's it. I mean, there's nothing else that it adds to it, does it? So, curious decision. Knights, crossbows now in queue. Men-at-arms also in queue. Don Artie with 17 units in queue that are about to pop out. Look at that. Men-at-arms. There they come. So plenty of production. More attacks on the other side of the map. You'd love to have those men-at-arms over on this side now. Village fortresses coming through. Another less than 5 minutes to go. And Don raiding behind the scenes as this push comes in on the front by Averley. Military count vastly in favor of Averley. And villagers do manage to escape. Relics getting picked up here as well. Averley doing a good job with that. The first one's on the way through. All sacred sites are now taken. We've got to defend all sacred sites. That's our first message. Come on, give us another message. Give us another 6 messages about the sacred sites. So all 3 sacred sites held by Averley. So this is where sacred victory actually becomes an option. There is a genuine chance right now that the sacred victory happens for Averley. The question is how he looks to go about it. So number one is he can just keep putting on pressure at the front and then just try and wall up on the back. The alternative is that he looks to try and get keeps down on those sacred sites, protect them, use them as town centers as well. Don Artie rushing up a market, needing to do a little bit of trading here. The numbers for Averley looking good. Don is in trouble, it seems. He's trying to distract on the backside. We see the Lancers looking to pick up reinforcements, looking to force the enemy to retreat from the front, but Averley not buying it. And Don still in the defensive. More Lancers heading out. Not bringing them to this fight at the front. Mangonel going to come out here. Definitely could buy him a bit of leverage as long as he's able to protect it. Remember, these guys are your VIPs. You don't want to let them go down, and we see Golden Age Tier 2 has been deactivated. I don't think I've ever heard that sound. Did you hear that? It sounded like glass breaking. And there it is, Golden Age 2 being activated. Imagine if we just sit on the barrier between, not the barrier, but yeah, now it just got deactivated. And now Don's going to reactivate it. No. Go on, Don. Reactivate it quickly. Quickly, Don. No, we're losing it. We just sit on like the precipice, just teetering on the balance between Tier 2 and Tier 1. Sacred, not sacred. Golden Age. All right, well, Don doing a pretty decent job of forcing these units back. I think, oh my lord, that's a big push coming in. Double Mangonels are out right now. Ville's on the front line as well. Big Mango shot from the top rope. Only looks like about 4 units managed to go down, but still one of those Mangos is dead. And it looks like a great hold from Don Artie despite facing a much larger army. And the Golden Age second tier has been deactivated. These battering rams are just deactivating Golden Ages everywhere. No Golden Age for you, Don Artie. You're not allowed it. I will not permit you to have a Golden Age. But this is where things start to get a bit worrisome. Look at the villager count here. Golden Age 2 activated. No, don't do him like that. The Vills finally get pulled here. Don Artie's sick of having his Golden Age deactivated. He says, get him out of here. All right, Averley's military comp looking good. He's got crossbows out. Crossbows always feel really good once you hit the castle age. There's so many armored units that you're going to have to deal with here. The question is, where are they all? There they are up towards the north as the first keep comes down. At least the first keep that we see is coming down. Plenty of villagers moving up, and Don Artie going to be looking for a keep of his own. Remember, once Don gets the keep out, that's when things start to get serious. He's going to immediately drop a siege workshop next to it and start looking to siege down the enemy with some trebs. Crossbows hold on that top side. There's the keep. Right next to the mill. Don Artie looking to safely put this one down. No way that it can really be denied. A couple of stables. Triple stable being thrown down here. Village fortresses almost through. We can see it sitting at about 50 seconds to go. And Averley trying his best to get back into the game. Remember, he's going to be using these keeps all around the map as his town centers, pseudo-town centers. Well, not even pseudo-town centers, just town centers. You can deliver resources to them. And there's the siege workshop coming through now for Averley. Going to be trying to defend against this. And now Don going to start working on the enemy production. We're right on board with Averley as those keeps are up. He's got 2 so far. So the equivalent of 3 town centers. Expect him to start rocketing up on that villager count, but obviously Don has already got a 40 villager lead. The consequence of not having those sacred sites earlier, it's the siege workshop, it's the consequence of not having those sacred sites earlier is that you're so far delayed now. So Don gets a huge amount of value from the second town center. So if there's one narrative I would build for you this game, it is because the military wing delays Averley so much from taking the sacred sites that it allows Don's second town center that he makes behind it to get a huge amount of lead time on his opponent before that castle age inevitably comes through, before those village fortresses inevitably come through. And now by the time that Averley even tries to put the pedal to the metal, it's just too late. Don's got too much of a lead. With this siege workshop coming down, Don's going to be able to get out all the trebs that he needs to start sieging down these landmarks. The numbers looking really good at the moment for Don. Double Springle from the north side. We're right on board with Don. As he looks to defend, he doesn't have much line of sight. The Springles will be able to sit comfortably from this position. There they are. Peering over the top of the trees just to take out that Mangonel. Frees up a lot of space now. There's the first of the trebs. Counterattack coming through. Lancer. Second Lancer. Has Don even got any of the eco upgrades? He did. He got agriculture. That's it. A single upgrade for Don. Definitely worth. I mean, compare that to like the culture wing and it's probably not that much. I mean, Don's still getting upgrades. You know what? Culture wing's probably still better, Don. I'm going to reprimand you on that. I think eco wing probably doesn't make sense at that point. But, you know what? I'll allow it. Battering rams pushing through. I like the way Don's using the outposts here. Remember, sacred sites actually ticking this whole time. Don just says, screw your sacred sites. I'm not interested in your sacred sites. I'm going to go for your throat. He's not even challenging, not even contesting the sacred sites. And you can see that Averley hasn't really taken that bait. You know, I mentioned that when it comes to defending these sacred sites, you can put your keeps on the sacred sites. And Averley hasn't done that. He's put his keeps a bit more neutrally. And you can see Don committing 100% right now. Last landmark is at the top side. So he should be okay in that regard. But buying a lot of time and manages to take out one of the trebs, I think. Has his own treb out now. Horseman coming through. Needs to defend all of the Springlets. Manages to do so. Might need to start repairing them. And look at Don just working down the landmarks. This is always Don's MO. We're right on board with Averley as he looks to try and hold on against this onslaught. Villagers getting chased. It's villager on villager action. The military wing is seriously... It is seriously starting to impress me. And now we've got landmark victory on the board. It's sacred victory versus landmark victory. Who's going to come up? Who's going to come up first? That's going to be the question. Does Don know where that last landmark is? Springold's firing down on the battering rams. They're going to be forced back away from this. Men at arms. No forced march coming out for the Abbasid player, only for the Delhi player. I'm not sure whether he knows where that last landmark is, but I would suspect he does. And we've got 3 minutes until sacred victory. It is literally sacred victory versus landmark victory right now. Unironically, no, he couldn't. There's too many crossbows. Never mind. I was like, he could actually do it. But he is John Cena in the back of the limousine right now. Look at that. Springold's moving through. Last landmark has been found. Keep going to be going up next to it. We enter into the cinematic mode as it is time to get it on. And Don Artie pulling the villagers. Looking to take out the last landmark before the final touchdown comes through from those sacred sites. And look at this. Where's the defense coming in? There's no defense here. Mangonel shot off the top rope. It's big. A lot of damage out. Ville's getting pulled. He's going to start repairing up the landmark. It looks like it's going to be going down. There's no possible way. Second Mangonel, and it's good game. Don Artie with the victory, taking out the final landmark before the sacred victory is able to come to fruition. Fellas, go and check out these two creators. I'm going to leave links in the description to where you can watch them live over on Twitch. While Don Artie, you can watch him on YouTube. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for witnessing the death of all these units.